shadows where the secrets lie. You can feel the chill as the dark winds sigh. Footsteps echo from the stairs up high. A spooky song that makes the bravest cry. Windows rattle, curtains sway with fright. Poltergeists dancing in the dead of night. Ooh, can you hear them calling your name? Whispers in the night, it's a ghostly game. Haunting melodies play, can't escape the shame. In the house of shadows, they're lighting the flame. Old portraits watching with their hollow gaze. Memories buried in a misty haze. Flickering candles cast an eerie glow. As the stories unfold, you don't wanna know. Now the clocks strike midnight, silence fills the air. Every creak and groan, they're lurking everywhere. Ooh, can you hear them calling your name? Whispers in the night, it's a ghostly game. Haunting melodies play, can't escape the shame. In the house of shadows, they're lighting the flame. The walls are breathing, can you feel the weight? These restless souls can't seem to find their fate. Dancing with the past, they're longing for release, but they linger on, never finding peace. With every flicker of the candle's light, you can hear their laughter echo in the night. The air gets thick like a spell that binds. In this haunted dwelling, they play with our minds. Ooh, can you hear them calling your name? Whispers in the night, it's a ghostly game. Haunting melodies play, can't escape the shame. In the house of shadows, they're lighting the flame. So if you feel a shiver, don't you run away. Embrace the whispers that are here to stay. In the quiet corners where the spirits dwell, listen closely and you'll hear their tale to tell. In the still of the night, let their stories flow. For in the dance of shadows, the mystery will grow.
Well, there you have it. The great Rusty Lillywhite, everybody, with the original song Poltergeist. This is my wonderful sidekick, Mr. Steve Stockton. Welcome.
Hey, everybody. How you doing tonight? Good to see you. Yeah,
brought you in on
Rusty's
the
something
side.
else. She's
I'm
a
telling
blues maven,
Woo!
a real chanteuse with those songs.
How lucky we are that she allowed us to have such a song. It was beautiful. The lyrics are beautiful. I wish I'd had time to put the lyrics up. We're a little late because I was trying to load that song up for everybody. Welcome in, everybody, all our Rumbles, all our inner tubers, and everybody over here on, we got them coming in from Facebook too, I think, Steve, YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook.
I see YouTube, Rumble. I don't see anybody on Facebook, but that doesn't mean they're not here.
See, they could be poltergeists. They could
Who we
be.
got here? Yeah, Hinway. What's a Hinway? 2 or 3 pounds, all right.
2 3 pounds, I'd say.
Scott's off of Grid Life. How you doing, Scott? Good to see
Scott.
you. They're talking about mediums and stuff. Did you hear the one about the medium that was got in some trouble? She was wanted by the police, but she was a little person. So she was a small medium at large. But trying to get away from the police, she ran into a burning building and sadly didn't make it. So in the end, she was rare, medium, well done.
We're
I
full
love
of them
those
tonight. Oh
plays
my
on
goodness.
words. I'm tired. So you're liable to
It
get
sounded
anything
so
out
much
of me
better.
tonight.
It sounded so
Hey,
much better
Chris
tired.
Redford, how
Dad
you
jokes.
doing?
Hey, and Ted, how you doing, sweetie? Good to see
Ted
you. Good to see
Branson's
you.
here.
RP,
Cathita's in the house.
I see Julie Van D.
Ugh.
Where's my? I gotta get
Hey,
that mirror
Julie.
without the mirror in it, so I can. I see you. I
Yeah, I
see
remember
Ghost
the
Lord
romper room
Kissy.
lady saw me one time and I had a hole in my pajamas and I went and
Hole
hid
in your
behind the
pants.
couch.
Fixing dough.
And speaking of holding, you got a little thing yeah, the romper room lady saw
Oh
my
my
nether
gosh.
regions.
So another reason, just
I
right in
shouldn't
there,
have wore
right
those
through the
holy
zenith,
pajamas.
right through
But
the zenith. Chris is
speaking of
here.
holding, I got a little thing there that you can
Oh, let me
present.
pull it up. Hi, Chris. How you doing, sweetheart? Good to see you. Good to see
You
you.
got to watch this
We'll come
carefully.
back around. Uh-oh. Okay, here we go. Get ready,
Okay,
folks.
watch
All
this.
right.
He's learned how to clap.
Oh,
He's
yes.
clapping.
He's clapping for me. He's watching his
Yeah. Now
he's
watch
watching
this
me.
binky swap here. He's got one pacifier in his mouth. There's one.
Right.
Watch this. Watch this move here.
And he
Boom,
says,
boom,
nope.
boom.
Oh, just drop one and go.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is just so
But yeah,
determined.
he's almost 9 months old in a few more days.
So determined.
But,
Oh
but
my
look at that
goodness.
binky swap. That's
Look at that.
amazing right there.
That is that move.
See, I'll take
Yep.
that one instead. Spit
Yep.
the other
Drop
one
it.
out. Pop the other one in.
You ever seen the one where the baby drops it in the water and the fish comes up with it in his mouth?
Yeah.
That was funny. Yeah, that's something else. That's
Me-
adorable. Look
me
at those
take-
feet.
Yeah.
Oh,
Those
he's a
little feet,
kicker.
especially when he's up on his knees there.
He's going to be a kicker. I'm telling you.
Look at those little
Look,
feet.
look.
Yeah.
He's excited. What's he watching? Does he recognize like voices, in things,
Oh, yeah,
certain
yeah.
cartoons and all
Yeah,
that kind of
knows
thing?
his name.
Yeah, oh God, yeah.
Let me show you
It's
another one
adorable.
here real quick. He had a special Labor Day outfit on today. Let me find
he?
it here. Yeah.
Smooth operator, that whole.
Let's see here. He
Yes, me
didn't.
too, Chris.
He didn't like having his picture taken.
9 months. Did they RP? Yeah. I'm just trying to
He's
remember. when
standing
mine
up. He can stand up. He's been standing up on his own.
did. Switcheroo.
And he holds on to his play yard
Cool
there, but
kid.
he lets go.
Yeah.
Let me find this picture here.
Lots of bacon tonight. It's good to see all that bacon out there. I love bacon. I had bacon this week. Sometimes my ritual usually is I'll do it on a Monday and then a Thursday. So I make it take a little bit each day. So you have a little bacon. If you can have a little bacon in every day, I think you might enjoy life a little bit more. Who knows? Try it. See what you think. Try it. See what you
He
think.
wasn't real happy here.
Absolutely.
There's
Yes.
better
A blessed
pictures
Memorial
of him.
Day. I don't say Happy Memorial Day. I say a blessed Memorial Day, just in remembrance. It's been a real hard weekend for me, guys. Thanks for letting me bow out of the show last night. I just could not get it together. And then what I did was I went out took some of my own advice, went grounded. So I got myself I bought just about every small little flag I could get, and then the medium ones and the ones with the pointy things on them. And I went out and bought a bunch of red, white, and blue flowers. And I just did mulching. I don't know how many bags of mulch, and drug rocks all over the place. Great big old rock. Planted all. My whole front yard is flags and red, white, and blue flowers, and that's how I celebrate it. And then I felt so good. But then I told Steve, I said, I can't even move my arms. I can't even. I had noodle. I was hedging. You know how like you're trying to do big hedges all across the front of the house and the front, and then you rake all that up. I mean, there's a lot of work in that. And I was doing it all day. And then I stopped and I couldn't lift my arms to text Steve. I'm like, I can't do a show. I can't even sit up straight. I'm just,
Got one more picture for you there, Cisco.
Go ahead. Got it up there, sweetie.
Yeah.
Hang on.
And
This new dark mode
he
is
wasn't
dark.
real happy about
Oh,
having his
look
picture
at
made,
him.
but it's
But look at his little memorial.
the shorts are
Little
American flag, and
It's
then
the
the shirt
cutest little
says
flag.
All American Dude.
Mhm.
But he was making a face
I
there.
guess adorable face. That's one of my favorite pictures already. Look at that. I could just
And
pinch your
the
cheek.
shoes are from his Aunt Judy. I don't know if she's here tonight or not, but she pops in from time to time.
I love those shorts. I absolutely do.
Yeah.
That's America right there. America.
All American dude.
That
There you
is.
go.
That's what that is. That's America right
That's
there.
he wore that for
Yep.
Memorial Day.
Memorial Day. Absolutely. Oh, somebody's having bacon, egg, English muffin yesterday, key lime pie today. You put some bacon on it, Vixen. I don't know. Bacon and key lime go together?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Give it a shot. Give it a shot
When I
and
lived
see.
in Portland, they had a Jack in the Box there. You could get a bacon milkshake as a chocolate milkshake, and they put bacon in it. Hey, lemon there.
If you have the right chocolate, Scott and I were. Hey, Lynn, how you doing, sweetheart? Uh, I was wondering what happened to you yesterday. I saw it was Bill's birthday, so I left you alone, girl. But I saw you on the Facebook giving him a cake. So happy birthday, Bill! Everybody say happy birthday, Bill.
Dimensional Horse, I owe you some books. I haven't forgotten, but you have to bear with me
Hey,
here.
Renee, so good to see you, sweetheart. Hey, there's Froze. There's Froze.
I've got your address and everything. It's in my email, and I'll get them to you. I promise.
Well, I got everybody here. I'm going to tell you right. I think what I've decided to do for Tuesday night's movie, I hope you can make it. If you are not a Rumble, listen, we need 9 more people over there, and that gets us on Rumble Premium Creator, whatever. I don't know what that's going to give us. I don't know. Maybe we'll get emojis. Maybe we'll get more time. I don't know, more people. Who knows what it gives us, but why not go for it? So we need 9 more people to go over there and it's free. Just follow. If one of my mods can put up that link to the Rumble channel, we do movies every Tuesday night, and they've been letting us get through them, Steve. Sometimes they'll cut them off. They surprise us over there at Rumble, but so you never know what you're going to get. So what I tell you, oh goodness, I'm tearing the thing apart. What I tell you is if they just get my email, and if that happens, I'll send you the link so you can finish the movie. But they haven't done it in a while, so we're going ahead with our Tuesday night movies. And this Tuesday night, I believe, is going to be Mothman Prophecies with Richard Gere. And what was that other girl? What was the other? What was the woman's name? Messing? Something Messing? Oh, I can't remember. Laura, maybe? I don't know, but she was good in it anyway.
It's a
That
good
was the
movie.
wife. Yeah, there was a lot of good people. Thank you, Ted. That's my Rumble. It's free. Just go over there, and that way, because when we show movies on Rumble, the only people they're available to are the people that are following me. So it's free to follow, but they won't, share it out because they don't want you to make, subscribers or anything off it. And I understand. I'm just glad they're letting us see. Deborah Messing. Thank you, Kat. These mods are quick here tonight, Steve. They really are. So what are we talking about tonight? What is it?
Poltergeist, noisy ghost in the German.
In the German. And that was the thing. So I thought today, you had asked me yesterday, I said I was a mess all weekend. I had my head in other spaces and everything. And I thought about, you know what? I'd like to talk a little bit about how the name of poltergeist, well, the word poltergeist, and really kind of the meaning has changed over the decades. So I reached in and I asked Grok what they thought. Yeah. He likes hamsters. Does he? Yeah, I've heard.
An urban legend, yeah.
Heard tell. So
Told for the
let's see.
truth.
Now I've got a couple cards, but not many tonight because I just couldn't remember all of this. I thought Grok did a great. So shout out to Grok and AI if you're listening. You probably are. Just asking, explain this to me, and I'd like to know the correlation between poltergeist and apports, because I was interested, Steve, to know if what people consider poltergeist, if the apporting, happens with the noisy ghost as well. You see, or do apports just happen without that? So I thought it'd be interesting to ask Grok what they thought. So here we go. We just got a few cards. You can take the first one if you can see it.
Okay, let me get back over here. The concept of poltergeist predates the term itself, rooted in European folklore, particularly in Germany from the Middle Ages onward. Stories of disruptive spirits throwing objects, making loud noises, or causing physical disturbances were common in oral traditions. These phenomena were often attributed to malevolent spirits, demons, or restless souls in Christian context, or to trickster entities in pagan religions. In the 16th and 17th centuries, poltergeist-like events were documented in religious and legal records, often tied to accusations of witchcraft or demonic possession. The term poltergeist became more widely used in the 19th century as spiritualism gained traction in Europe and North America. Spiritualists and early paranormal researchers began categorizing poltergeists as distinct from other ghosts, emphasizing their physical, disruptive behavior over mere apparitions. Cases like the Bell Witch from 1817 to 1821 in Tennessee involves physical disturbances in voices, helps solidify the poltergeist as a specific type of haunting in popular and something discourse. I can't see the other word there.
Because there's a chat there. Let me see if I can move the chat home 1 second.
That's okay.
They're gonna let me
Just
do it.
missed one word there. And scholarly discourse.
Scholarly discourse. That one word was so important there, Steve.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah.
So scholarly discourse. So that's the thing that I was interested in. So it seems like right around then is when it started to change. So around that time when you start getting things like Bell Witch and things. So they started using the poltergeist term. Now, you and I have talked about this before. I distinctly remember in Ghost Hunters being a huge fan of that show when it first started to come out, maybe the first 5-6 years. I think once they started to peel off and do all kinds of different things and add to it, it started, maybe. So I think at the time I remember, and of course he's not the first, but it stood out to me that he started describing a poltergeist a little differently. And he was, and again, not the only one, I'm sure, was starting to describe the poltergeist is not so much just a noisy ghost, but an energy composite of maybe one person in the home or multiple people in the home, multiple situations that might disperse a lot of energy, such as in a Lizzie Borden house, whether it was the energy that happened then, probably before as well, and then afterwards with everybody talking about it and creating almost its own entity that was never human, just a massive energy. Do you remember talking about all that? Did you have anything that you wanted to say on that? Because I remember at one point in time we were so confused by it. How did it switch?
Yeah, it was just one of those things that once it became a part of popular culture, and then you had those movies and things in the 80s that just it took on a whole new meaning, took on a life of its own.
True. And I think that's what part of AI was saying too, because sometimes you can get it to do a deep dive and say, hey, I want to get a deep dive on this. And it did mention that, Steve, so spot on. But it was mentioning that when the movie Poltergeist came out, of course, that started up another thing. But it seems like with that, it said poltergeist, but it had multiple things going on in the house that were obviously different things. So which one was the poltergeist? You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So again, more confusion. It pretty much left your mind open to choose what you wanted to put it on. Was the whole big thing a poltergeist because it was noisy? So I think that this one word in the paranormal, I know I'm emphasizing a lot on it, but the point is when you do multiple decades on a paranormal show and radio shows and things like this, you've kind of got to hone in on certain things and really pull it apart and try to understand what it is. And I think over the years it's really helped to understand ghosts a lot more, because at one point in time when I was little, ghost was a ghost, you know, and it was such a wide thing. So I think that had a lot to do with it. I think that the movies had a lot to do with it too, but it also confused the matter more, because now again we've got these staunch people that might be on TV, have a TV personality or whatever it may be. They might be one of the people in the box listed as an expert, where in between these shows, where they'll tell a story and then the expert will come in and go, your children often see ghosts more than adult human beings because they're closer to the, those people. And again, they may or may not be a specialist in that area or not. I couldn't tell you. I've met plenty of them, and the ones I know are legit as all get out. But, I've seen a lot of fakes too, so I can't really say. But there's that. Your mileage may vary, as Steve says. So that was why I picked Poltergeist, because I think it's one of those things. It's like, I know I've been doing a lot of JFK, and the references to everything in my life seems to be able to, I can always bring it back to JFK.
There you go. And there was I was looking at those today. There's like total 24 hours or something at JFK there. Need to do a live stream sometime and just play them all one after the other.
Oh, that's a great idea. I'll have to do that. I should do that, or maybe on the anniversary, November 22nd or something like that for Thanksgiving. But anyway, yes, and I'm not even done yet. I've got at least 2 more episodes. I got to do Oswald, who is the most complex 24-year-old you're ever going to want to meet, and Ruby, and then finish it off with the Secret Service, because like I said, it all ties together and paints a picture, all these threads together. So, but it is like that, Steve. It's like I think Poltergeist is the Oswald of the paranormal. And
Yeah.
what do I mean by that? I don't mean that the poltergeist is a patsy. What I mean is it's like the most confused thing. It goes back and forth depending on who you talk to. It's just a ghost that's making noise, or is it a massive energy that is coming from a person's PK abilities and the energy that they can't control? And we all know that energy is going to find a way
Yeah.
to manifest, right? Or is it just a ghost that makes noise? And who made the distinction there, and how did it kind of morph? So I do have some retro TV clips. I'm going to go and we're going to play some of those and then play the story and come back. I tried to find ones that we hadn't seen a bunch of times, but we can go ahead and name a bunch. Steve and I have talked a thousand times about the Bell Witch. We've had Eric from Unseen Paranormal here to talk about it. He knows lots of people that really specialize in that. Is that a poltergeist? I wouldn't categorize it as a poltergeist. I mean, if we're just talking about the harassment, or the let's say the what's the word I'm looking for, Steve? Jump in my head a minute. The communication, or the back and forth with the say the victim and the entity here in Bell Witch. I wouldn't say that was a poltergeist. I would say that was something totally different. I don't know
Yeah.
what you would call it.
It did do. There was some apporting there, and
Okay.
some pranks and playing stuff, but I don't think it was specifically a poltergeist in the truest sense of the word. No more than,
Right.
say, Jeffrey the Talking Mongoose, or any of the more
Which I
famous.
love, by the way. Harry
Now,
Price
that's a
talked about.
great
I
case.
love Jeffrey. I love Jeffrey and Harry. I really dig Harry Price. I think I would just kiss him on his little bald head. I really would give him a big old hug around the neck. Because look, he never claimed to be anything more than he was, and he was everything that he claimed to be. I mean, he was that way. I'm not saying everything he said was true. I'm saying that a lot of it was true, and there was some glitter in there. There was some glitter in there. You know what I mean? He threw a little magic and stuff in. But again, why not? So, but he was kind of honest about that in the long run too. And you could really learn a lot from those people, just like with Houdini. I mean, Houdini went after it, to try to trick up the charlatans and stuff like that, because he was seeking the answer, and he figured as a not a musician, totally different thing, magician, he would be able to tell the trickery used, and things like that. And again, I think it kind of ruins it for everything. It's like, go with it. If it's a bad reading, it's a bad reading, move on, because I've seen bad readings 3 months later turn into something. So you don't always know right away, Steve. You know what I mean? If they say,
Yeah.
duck, there's a duck that means something. You're like, no, there's no duck. And they insist there's a duck. Keep duck, write it down. And, the whole time you're bad mouthing this medium because there's no damn duck. And then all of a sudden the duck shows up, and it's big. It's a big thing in your life. You know what I mean? It means something. Like, here comes this prince holding a duck. Like, hey, lady, is this your duck? And this is the guy you wind up marrying. And you've been bad mouthing the medium for 3 months. Do you see how it works? Consider that. Aren't I right, Lynn? I'm 100% correct in that, aren't I? You got to hold it, and sometimes you got to let that stuff bake a little bit, because there could be a duck. All right. So I want to do one more of these hoo-ha, because I think it's going to lead us up to the next one. Do you want to do this one here, or I could do it?
I got it.
Okay, hit
From
me.
the 1900s to the 1930s, poltergeists were seen as external spiritual entities, often linked to spiritualism or cult beliefs. Paranormal investigators like your man there, Harry Price, documented cases, example given, the Borley Rectory hauntings, describing poltergeists as spirits causing chaos, such as moving furniture or producing unexplained sounds. Excuse me.
Take your time.
The focus was on physical phenomena, knocking, object displacement, and occasionally apports, which is objects appearing or disappearing inexplicably. The rise of psychology and parapsychology shifted interpretations. Researchers like Nandor Fodor proposed that sounds like one of the Muppets or
like
something
all of a
out of The
sudden
Hobbit
we're-
or something.
We're in
Nandor
Lord of the
Fodor
Rings. We're in
Yeah.
Lord of the Rings all of a sudden. This is great. Good.
proposed that poltergeist activity might stem from psychokinetic energy, unconscious telekinesis, linked to a living person, often an adolescent or emotionally distressed individual. This marked a transition from purely supernatural explanations to a mix of spiritual and psychological theories. Poltergeists were increasingly seen as manifestations of repressed emotions rather than independent entities.
See? Well, there you go. So, just like we said, it's starting to change, a little bit at a time. Now, what are you guys saying over here? Here from the Shire. Um, Somebody's got a $2 bill, Steve.
All right.
Yeah. Lynn, you get a $2 bill? Did you agree with that as far as with the mediums? We always tell everybody, Lynn, hang on to that what the medium told you for a while, Nancy Grace channel. What's happening on Nancy Grace channel? She's intense. Blood, murder.
Yeah, she gets into
blood splatter. Deceit. The way she talks, she's.
They'll probably carry her out of there kicking and screaming one day. They'll find out she was guilty of something.
She's kind of like if Quincy had a daughter. It's like I know it's murder. She gets in there. She does all right, I guess. All right, so let's take this. I think we do one of these and a little story. Let's see what now this is from the show The Unexplained. I forget when that was, 90s maybe, I believe. So here's a little piece of this, and we've got about 10 minutes, Steve, if you want to get some tea or something. Or you got to heat up a bottle. You gonna go to sleep. You got to go to sleep. You let me know too. We can go.
If I fall asleep, you just yell and wake me up. Yeah, I was tired about 8 hours ago, and I'm bordering on exhausted now. But
you're bordering on
been up since 4 a.m. I did catch about a half hour nap.
And look what we go through, guys.
Holden's an early riser.
Lynn agrees. Lynn agrees, and Andrew's here. Hello, Andrew.
Andrew, how you doing?
And there's my spooky shirts.
Is that Dave Scott there with you in your picture, Andrew?
Is it? Let's go back and take a look.
Looked like it.
It does look like Dave Scott, doesn't it? Is that Dave Scott? Doesn't she? I think they're talking about Nancy Grace here. All right. Oh,
they're talking about the Diddy trial, and it's
my goodness,
it's something else.
They're getting into Rico now. That's got teeth. As long as I'll tell you what, I could prosecute that case a whole lot better, though. I see that all the time, and it's just like, look. I understand, but you're just not biting on the right things. You gotta get in there and fight it like a bulldog. All right. So, I wanted to ask you, Steve, what you think about the new feature on the pop-up chat with StreamYard.
I like it. I haven't had the opportunity to use it yet on any of my shows because I haven't done any, but
Ted Branson,
I like being able to put it on stage like that.
I think Ted Branson is hiring.
That way I can go full screen with the thing and
you can
get rid of all that white screen and I can see the chat.
I think it's good too, and we have it in the movies. We were taking votes on it in the thing when we're watching a live movie on the Rumble. Because we can't really say anything to the Rumble people that are coming in and joining us that don't know about our chat. And I think it's good because the live chat shows them, hey, there's people in live chat and come on over and talk about the movie. We're trying to learn about ghosts or aliens or whatever the hell it is we're watching. And I think it's interesting for that. I think at some point in time it could be distracting. So we're kind of you
like
guys
when it blotted out a word there in the card I was in. But see, this way you don't get that hideous glare that you get with all the other stuff there. That's
true. So there's some good points. There's definitely good points. And I don't know what everybody's watching on. If you're on your cell phone, it might be a little harder to read. If you're on a PC or a laptop, it might be easier
if you're on a cell phone,
because I can see it here. Big. I can actually see it better on the screen than I can see it over on the side.
Yeah.
Just because the way I have to. So that maybe we won't miss as much because again, what did it tell somebody? I believe Ted, you had given me a Rumble drop, and it does not allow me to see the Rumble rants on the screen here. So I didn't find out about it till the next day. So I wanted to thank you for that. So if you do put a Rumble rant, any of my mods that are in Rumble, and I've lost my screen, my one laptop went out, so I don't see what's going on YouTube. I only see it in the chat, so I don't see live YouTube. So if my mods will let me know if YouTube goes down or something like that, let me know. But let me also know if somebody throws a tip in the tip jar over here at the Rumble. It goes in toward the show, and we appreciate any and all. And it also highlights your chat. But if I'm not seeing it on the StreamYard, I'll miss the chat too. If my mods tell me here, I'll be able to go back here, and I'll be able to maybe pull it up and I can see the rant. I still don't have, I think that's one of the things that you get the access to when you get to be a Rumble creator. So that's why we need 9 more followers, guys.
And they give you some kind of little pylon looking thing there too, I think.
Yeah. I have no Rumble mods. Did they take all my Rumble mods off? I got to go back, but I have to do it on this computer, so I can't do it till next show for the movie for Tuesday night. We'll see if we can fix the mods. Thank you for that, Scott. All right, so here is a little bit of some retro TV if I can find it. I'm gonna go get some hot water for my tea. And seriously, Steve, I know you're exhausted, honey. So whenever you got to cut out, you just give me the word, babe. We all understand.
Okay.
Holden comes first, and so does Nick. And Nick comes second.
As long as I can.
And Nick comes
they're
second.
downstairs. I've got my studio up here, but I'll run and check on them in a minute.
Oh, very nice. You got a nice quiet spot. Looks nice there. You don't have any like apparitions walking around behind you, no ghost dogs howling in the background or nothing.
Nothing
it's
here.
Nice. It's nice. All right.
Ran it all out of here when we were moving in.
This first one is pretty good. I like this show. Ghostly Encounters is one of my favorites, I think, that we watch, but this one's pretty good. There is a famous case that Steve and I often talk about, and I couldn't pull it up for you because it's on Unsolved Mysteries, and there's no way they're letting me play you that. But it is basically called, I think it's become known as the Rain Man case, and that's the one. If we have time later, I'll pull up the story and read it to you. But that's the one where the kid was had some problems with the grandfather. I believe he had been abused verbally, physically by the grandfather. Grandfather dies, hangs behind, and starts haunting this kid in death as well. So it's definitely one of those cautionary tales to tell you, don't just assume that the bad person that's passed, now I'm free of him, and you're talking all kind of wild stuff. And we talk about curses and not putting that out into the energy because they latch onto it. We don't want any of that. So just send them happy thoughts and energy for a couple of days and send them away because that's the best way to repel them. Honestly, it's that simple. But in this case, the grandfather in death is harassing the young man. And I believe he's in the 16 to 17 age group, somewhere around there. But he's in a jail cell, and he's making it rain inside the jail cell. Do you remember this one, Steve?
Don Decker, the man who could make it rain.
Yes.
I made a video about it.
Oh, it's so, and didn't they have eggs coming through the ceiling and everything? Unbroken?
All kinds of weird stuff, yeah.
All kinds of stuff. So, again, that's like one of the most famous cases. I would not call that a poltergeist case. I would say that was something else. So, again, this whole show is about what they're all about when we're talking about ghosts and things. Is not putting everything into a category and letting it mess you up when you're doing investigations and things, because there's so many different meanings for the unknown, and we just want to kind of keep it open, if you know what I mean. All right, so here we go. Ooh, scary. And I know I spelled Apporting wrong. Never, just let it ride. It's going to be all right.
Need a little more pee in there.
A little more pee.
The word conjures up images of satanic demons and mischievous ghosts. For thousands of years, people have told tales of such spirits. But what exactly is a poltergeist? Is it a ghost? Or is it the manifestation of a living person's psychic energy? Those who say they have encountered poltergeists find the answers elusive and the questions haunting. Stories span from a quaint New England inn to a farm in the mountains of Oregon, where poltergeists captivate witnesses with noisy disturbances and physical activity. Patrons of a country music bar in Kentucky wonder if poltergeists are malevolent forces influenced by murder. While a scientist refuses to let fear stand between him and the true origins of poltergeist activity. Perhaps there are earthly explanations for poltergeist events, but to those who have witnessed these unnerving phenomena, they remain strange, sometimes terrifying, and completely unexplained. Johnstone's Inn lies in the countryside village of Ashland, Massachusetts, 30 miles southwest of Boston. It appears to be home to poltergeists, noises and movements that some think are caused by ghosts. It was here in March of 1976 that Robin Hicks' view of the world changed forever. The inn's attic used to contain apartments, where Robin spent nights with his wife. On this night, they heard strange noises.
And it was a little girl bouncing a ball. La 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 brrr, down the hall. And I ran out the door and down the stairs and all around the building and checked every door, and it was closed. A couple of days later, a friend of mine who was walking by said, is your niece here the other night? And I said, no, why? He said, well, I saw a little girl looking out your window.
Robin's was not the only account of the mysterious appearance of a little girl.
They used to talk about the little girl who danced. And you'd come in the morning, and it's an old building. So you'd hear things, and you'd think, you know, it's creaking. I mean, normally that's what you would think. Well, this one day, it wasn't creaking. I don't think so. It was like really tip, 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 like that. You'd listen and you'd say, what is that? I guess it was a little girl dancing upstairs.
The inn's owner at the time was beginning renovations. He noticed that doors, locked the night before, were found open the next morning. And lights, turned off, were later seen blazing in the dark. His staff was also encountering strange forces.
One night after a busy night, all the waitresses were sitting around the table, and I was with them, and they were counting their tips and getting ready to go home. And the floors in the inn creak quite readily, especially when it's real quiet. You can hear it, and so when someone walks by you, you can hear the creak, and you get a little breeze that goes by. And we had that experience, but there was no one else in the restaurant but us. And they quickly gathered up their money and left that night.
The staff at Johnstone's Inn began sharing their eerie stories of portentous encounters.
My car was parked over there where that truck is parked. And I walked this way, and I glanced back up at the building just to see if there was anybody around. And I looked up at the window on the left-hand side, and I saw that greenish white ball of light. And I went over to my car, and then drove up here, got out and glanced back up at the window, saw the light again, and then the light disappeared, and the room was dark.
Some staff members claim to have had startling physical encounters with the spirit. Kitchen workers were relaxing one night when an unseen force startled them by levitating a pack of cigarettes and propelling it across the table. Similar stories of playful poltergeists began to flourish. Stories of lively forces mischievously pushing waitstaff in the basement. Of the sounds of footsteps. Of extinguished candles inexplicably relighting. And of the incessant strange apparitions.
We would always close off this one particular room at one point in the night, and in that room I saw something go by the window, and it wasn't blurry or fuzzy or sheer as you would imagine a ghost to be. So I flung open the door and I said to what I thought would be a human, hey, what are you still doing in? And before I could finish my sentence, I noticed there was nobody in there, and unfortunately I spun on my heel and got out of the room rather than enter it, because I know it's a friendly ghost.
Not everyone would assume that the ghosts here were friendly. The inn's history, well known in the area, is steeped in murder and deception. Captain John Stone built the inn in 1832. His patrons were young railway workers with little else to do except drink and gamble. This often led to violence, and legend has it that Stone himself killed the traveling salesman during a card game and buried his body in the basement. Stone and the salesman are said to be two of the spirits who have haunted the inn ever since. The inn has seen its share of tragedies, including the deaths of two people who were killed on the nearby railroad tracks. One, a former manager, and the other, a little girl, both of whom are said to be haunting the inn.
You know, instead of just calling them ghosts, I feel like I understand them a little bit more. And I also understand that they're very dangerous. We used to take them very lightly because we didn't understand what they were before, and we had a lot of fun with them. But now I think of them in a more serious nature, and that they really shouldn't be fooled with. They're very powerful and very dangerous things.
Spiritualist Raphael Bibbo, intimately familiar with the inn's history and structure, feels that the sheer number of reports of poltergeists at the inn are enough evidence to conclude that paranormal activity is present.
And with so many people who have had these experiences, one cannot say that 75% of the public is paranoid or has got some problems with them, because there are a lot of credible people who have experienced, felt, seen, touched, and so you have to go on that basis that something must exist, something has to exist.
Unlike the apparitions associated with hauntings, poltergeists are phenomena involving real-life physical activity. Is the building itself a source of these activities?
The inn, the thing that first caught me right off was that it's only about 50 or 100 feet away from the railroad tracks, and that's going to cause some pretty serious shaking of that building.
Could the force of a passing train last long after the train has left, resulting in residual vibrations in the building? Could these have a significant impact on old walls and floors, resulting in unexpected sounds and movements?
When there's movement between a beam and a post, for example, it will make a noise. Also, as it expands and contracts, the boards sitting on top of the beams will creak, they'll make noises, there'll be noises like clunks and bangs and things like that that can easily be translated as footsteps.
Local historians point out that there is nothing in their records indicating any kind of paranormal reports at the inn since it was built.
Well, as you learn in stuff like this, there's so much hearsay. As far as the paranormal stuff, no, there are no written records in town of anything unusual, except possibly we look research where a young girl was killed by the train. That might be attributed to the ghost they talk about.
Most of the people who visit or work at the inn are aware of its history of alleged hauntings and poltergeists. Are they simply misinterpreting a natural occurrence as a paranormal experience?
When you do a magic trick, there is the way the trick goes in real life, and then there is the way that the people remember it. So when they remember something, it's much better than it ever was when it was performed. And it's the same type of thing, I believe, with sightings and paranormal activity like that. If you're in a receptive state of mind already to begin with, you will believe it. You will look for things and make connections that may or may not be there.
Whether the poltergeists are real or not, one thing is certain. As long as the walls of John Stone's Inn stand, the stories will never die. Many experts on paranormal events agree that children and adolescents can be magnets for poltergeist activity. Are children lightning rods for the paranormal? Frank and Jackie Walker raised their daughters Tara and Devin in a farmhouse in the Oregon mountains. The Walkers' home, nestled in Kings Valley, lies on property once owned by its namesake, Isaac King, who was found shot to death in his barn in 1866.
And there are three stories. One, the newspaper announced that he'd shot himself. But then another one said, well, no, it was an accident. And then the third one is that he was murdered by members of his family. No one knows. No one will ever know.
Well-known local legend has it that King's ghost haunts the property on which the Walkers now live. As soon as they moved in, Tara and Devin immediately felt they were not alone in their new home.
They sensed something immediately when we moved in. I remember Tara and Devin, Tara first, telling me that she heard things. She heard footsteps. And I just said, well, it's an older house. We had a new home before, and this is an older home, and there are noises that are unexplainable sometimes in older homes. But she said, Mom, I think there's somebody here because I hear footsteps.
Devin, 7 years old at the time, told her parents that she also sensed an unknown presence.
I just felt like someone was always watching me and like there, I just noticed that doors were shutting, no one was there, things were creaking in the hall. It was just kind of spooky, and then all these other things started happening, and I just felt that there was something there.
Her older sister, Tara, observed several strange events that led her to believe she and her family were surrounded by spirits.
And I guess the reason I believe in ghosts because we moved here is because of all the strange happenings that have occurred. Doors slamming when no one's there, voices in the hallway when no one's there, footsteps when no one's there, stuff like that.
Frank and Jackie dismissed these tales, concluding their daughters were anxious about their new surroundings. Then, one night, the parents experienced something unusual. During a dinner party, a guest uttered the word ghost.
The TV came on, the water faucet started up in the kitchen full blast, and the cat food container was dumped in the middle of the utility room floor. We talked about it later, Frank and I, and we decided that we'd better listen to our children.
The disruption seemed to be the work of an intelligent force with its own agenda.
I remember my mom, she was getting mad at us because we were fighting over something. I can't remember what it was. We were fighting over the TV control or something.
My mom said, go to your room, and when I went there, the door was locked to my room.
The hinges were inside the door. There's no way anybody else locked it. My dad wasn't home.
The mischievous actions of the poltergeist seemed to reveal a prankish sense of humor. One day, Frank discovered that a critical document he needed for work was missing. The Walkers searched the home and office frantically until it turned up in a very unlikely spot.
It was stacked underneath two other boxes, and lo and behold, the report was on the top of that box. And none of us had taken it over there. The girls have their own separate drawing area. There's no way they could have lifted the heavier boxes and inserted it. I had some angry words at that point. I asked the spirit to please leave us alone and stop hiding things. I actually just came out and said, whatever you are, please stop it.
Frank's outburst appears to have transformed the poltergeist activity from mischievous to helpful. Suddenly, it was opening the gate at the farm's entrance for approaching cars and unlatching deadbolt locks on doors for Frank when he had forgotten his keys.
And he asked my mom and my sister and me if we had opened it, and we said no. So we hope it's the ghost who answered it. We think it is.
Still curious, Frank and Jackie called on ghost hunters Dave Esther and Sharon Gill. Dave and Sharon use an array of devices to collect evidence of the existence of ghosts.
I believe in ghosts because I've seen them, I've heard them. They're real. You can measure, you can use physical instruments, scientific tests that can determine the mass, there's energy, presence. Supernatural is not natural occurring. You can document it, measure it.
Everybody thinks you need special equipment to do this, and that's absolutely not true. You can even use Polaroid. I got a couple that had different sort of swirls. Miss Jackie has gotten several like that as well. But that one particular day, behind her daughter standing in the office, there was a misty, it almost looked like it distorted the center of the picture.
Dave and Sharon felt that the combination of photographic evidence, thermal readings, and the first-hand accounts were proof that a spirit was present. Because the idea of having a resident spirit was initially unsettling to the Walkers, Dave and Sharon talked with them about their concerns.
They felt very comfortable with us. They started watching for things and noting things that were happening and realized that they were not malevolent in nature. They were being more protected than anything.
Having spent years trying to quantify spirit activity and researching the history of paranormal outbursts, Dave and Sharon understand the potential connection between poltergeists and adolescence, something the girls find both comforting and exciting.
According to the ghost hunters, at least I think that's what they said, is that kids can sense the entities better than grown-ups.
Is there truly a relationship between poltergeist activity and adolescent children?
The classic poltergeist is a center of funny physical happenings, particularly object movements and percussive sounds, raps and whatnot. The centre being around an individual, often an adolescent, but not always. It wouldn't be without parallel for a rather isolated family with several children to develop poltergeist phenomena.
Now, whether the emotional state triggers it off at the beginning in some way, and then when it happens adds to it and feeds backwards and forwards, we don't know. But the emotional state is in the person who's seeing the things around which they are happening. I don't think it's got anything to do with spirits at all.
Poltergeist researchers feel that the emotional turmoil of adolescence can generate enough psychic energy to trigger poltergeist activity. Psychologists argue that reports of poltergeists are simply people's misinterpretations of ambiguous situations. Possibly what is being taken as a poltergeist may indeed be a prank.
In this case, where you have the little girls, it seems to me that they started as a prank. They may even have started to believe in it themselves. It's the kind of game that you play, and you keep on doing it, and you get to a point where you kind of forget how it all started, and it takes on a life of its own. It doesn't seem unlikely that you might be able to convince your parents of the same.
Phenomena that seems to be centered around adolescence seems to reflect adolescence itself. Here we have little prankster things happening, doors opening and closing. Objects that should be in one place are found in another. And we have to ask ourselves, is this really the action of a ghost or more of the action of the adolescent?
Another explanation is more mundane. The plumbing is noisy.
Old plumbing systems in particular, but plumbing systems in general, can transmit voices. It is not unusual for people in single-family homes, for people in one home, to hear voices of their neighbors coming through a plumbing system.
There is also a scientific explanation for the strange way the Walker's Gate at the farm's entrance occasionally opens when a car approaches it.
As the wind tries to go around a solid body like a car or a building or something like that, the wind sort of piles up behind it, and as it tries to go around, it speeds up. So if you drive up to something like a gate, the wind coming around the car will speed up, and that can put more force on the gate and cause the gate to have the appearance of opening up automatically.
The Walkers still believe they are at the center of paranormal activity, and the girls, for their part, strongly defend their beliefs.
I would say, if you think I'm nuts, then you can come over to our house and you'll think you're nuts too.
If you think we're nuts, you can come over to our house and you'll think you're nuts too. And that's usually the way it goes. I mean, Ted was saying about, I believe it was you, Ted, we're saying about the Enfield poltergeist. Now that whole story just creeps me out from one side to the other. I mean, I don't know what's going on over there, especially in that time. But those two little girls were just, bless their hearts. I know they're grown up now and they're still alive, but it's a little creepy. As I remember, it's the David Soul poster on the wall. Is she's like jumping in the air, and everybody say, "Well, they're just jumping off the bed, and the camera's catching it, and this, that, and the other." Hey, D-Rock, this, that, and the other. Here's the thing: you don't know till you're there. There's another one, house on, I think it's 922. Oh gosh, I almost remember the address, but. Anyway, there were police there that saw the refrigerator move, things that this, and they're blaming it on this 3-year-old kid. How is she moving a refrigerator? Stop it. There was, if I recall correctly, it was yell out the case if you know which one I'm talking about. There was a couple of plainclothes police. There was police in uniform, and I believe this was in just outside of London. I believe Scotland Yard. Ted. This is all you, hon. Scotland Yard, and all the police witnessed all this furniture moving, and they're blaming it on this little kid. The little girl, I believe she was like half Native American, and they had adopted her, and they were saying that she was causing it with her PK and her energy that's all bottled up because she was being teased in school. First of all, she's 3, and she's moving a refrigerator with that kind of energy. Stop it. Now, did she have energy that maybe set something off in the house? Steve, what do you think? Do you remember? Do you have any idea what case I'm talking about? I forget the name of the case.
Yeah, I
What it's
can't
known
remember
for.
the name of it, but that's the circumstances behind
And
it.
it's
But
similar to the Enfield. I don't remember there being any voices like coming out of the girl in this case, but I believe there was a talking cat, if that makes up for any lost scares there. But it was a talking cat. Didn't it tell the police officer to go to hell or something?
yeah, something like that.
Something like that. I can't remember. We'll do that case one night. I have some cards and some notes and stuff on that on that case, but I only know it by the address, and the address escapes me. You know me and numbers, guys. But now the Enfield poltergeist, which again has it in the title. What's poltergeist about this thing? It's flying the kids around the room. It's this weird deep voice coming out of this one, bless her heart, odd looking child, unfortunately odd. And this deep voice is coming out of her. You've got this creepy, I'm sure he was legit as all get out, but he gave off a vibe. And he's got this mustache like Snidely Whiplash. Do you know what I mean? The glasses. Yeah. And he's living there with the girls. So that's not, you got to wonder about these things. And I don't remember ever seeing too much of the parents. I don't know. Maybe they were there and I just don't recall. But they're flying around the room. The voice is coming out of the girl. And there's a lot of banging, I imagine. And David Soul's on a poster on the wall, just hanging out. So how's that a poltergeist? How are both things a poltergeist? They're so different. That's my point. I think this is just a label they stick on things, but they don't know what the hell it is.
Yeah,
you don't know what
that's poltergeist.
If you don't know what,
send it on out the door.
This is my angst with the whole thing. It just seems, again, go back to the movie. Which one was the poltergeist? Are they all poltergeists? They're all so different. You've got the entities that are lost and the lost souls following each other, coming through that portal from the top floor, however the hell that's supposed to work, coming out of the closet, and then coming down the stairs with all the lights, and you see the people walking out the front door like it's just passing through, right? Then you've got whatever it was that was in charge of making this guy think he was eating maggots in the steak, and his face melting off, right? All those things, the manifestations. Is that the poltergeist? Are they both the poltergeist? You see where I'm saying? The house gets sucked into the ground.
Too ambiguous, yeah.
Then you got the thing pulling her in the TV. You got the big monster thing that was this priest energy that's holding all the people back. Again, so many different things.
Confusing, very confusing.
Yes. And the one we mentioned, again, I forget the gentleman's name, Rain Man. Again, totally different.
Don Decker, the man who could make it right.
Do you know what happened to him in the end? I mean,
I
did
don't
he ever
remember
have any
it. I made a
kind of
video about it, but I couldn't tell you right off the top
I'd
of my head.
love to know. I mean, I'm sure I don't want to know if it was a sad thing, but if he's like pushed through it and managed to have a normal life and it's like the CEO of some major company or something, that'd be fantastic. Maybe he's off in a sailboat, in a yacht somewhere. Who knows? But anyhow, that was strange because again, it didn't seem like he had any control over it. And when I really looked into that case, and again, I think the major thing that everybody remembers is the unsolved mysteries. And then there was other small things and things like Steve and we didn't just, retelling of the story, of course, but I think there was so much more there. I certainly believe that one was one where there was some kind of a very dark entity working with the grandfather, attached to the grandfather, somewhere along the lines. Because again, the sad thing there is if you have an abused child, that usually opens a door for more negativity and evil to come in, that's just lurking around or maybe attached to the person doing the abuse. Who knows? Again, very broad brush there. But these cases with these little girls seem to be very similar. Again, Steve, you and I, when we were talking, and this is so many years ago now, our first phone call, I believe it was that when we were talking about my experience at the haunted house, and you made me look at it in a different way. We've talked about this before, but made me look at it a different way and said, well, what if it was your father's energy coming in? Then you've got all these teenage girls coming in, and that energy, if any of that is true, and I do believe, I believe that, young people, energy, especially with abilities, absolutely. Energy's going to find a way. Okay. But then you've got his erratic energy coming into a place that already had that maybe dormant, and everything woke each other and played off of each other like I want to say a Siberian Orchestra. What was the name of that thing? Trans-Siberian Orchestra.
Trans-Siberian Orchestra, yeah.
It was just like a symphony of, cacophony of events, And I think that that's true in a lot of these cases, whether it's renovation, like that first story we just saw, where they started tearing up stuff and, feel like they've unleashed something into the house, woke it up. Or if an energy moving in can wake it up. And I believe both can be true. I think all those things can be true. And I think putting it in a small little, file or pocket box, whatever you want to call it, is really somehow short sheeting the paranormal. Short sheeting. See what I did there with the ghosts and the sheet? Never mind. You gotta want it. You gotta want it. You gotta want it. You gotta really want it. But anyhow, I think that holds water. I think it's worth looking at, into, at least thinking about too, because on top of it, and what you're going to get now in the second kind of half is a little bit more about the apporting part. And I'm glad you're still here for this, Steve, because I have another card, and I think this is the apporting one. But let's look and see. All right, let's see what this one is. I love this purple. Oh, right on time. Look at me. I'm doing good tonight. I'm doing good.
Go
ahead.
Apporting has been associated with poltergeist since the 19th century, particularly in spiritualist seances, where mediums claim spirits could materialize objects. Example given: flowers, coins, or small items appearing suddenly. Early poltergeist cases, like the 1848 Hydesville wrappings linked to the Fox sisters, included reports of objects moving or appearing, reinforcing the idea that poltergeists can manipulate physical matter.
Absolutely. And this is the thing, I think, there's so many things in the paranormal and the supernatural that really intrigue me. We could go on forever, but this is one of the things that gets me. And I think Steve's going to know exactly what I'm talking about when I say letters in a drawer. Letters in the drawer blew our minds. I'm telling you, in real time, Steve and I are talking to a young man who went through absolute hell. 3 rings, came back through backwards, again, and went through again. And he, to my understanding, he's still going through it, to a lesser degree and a different degree, but still. But the story he told about, oh gosh, what the hell was the name of that? Brownsville? No, that's not the Brownsville demon. Oh gosh, there's so many, Steve. What's the name of it? Washington. It's in Washington.
Bothell.
Yes,
Hell House.
Hell House. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, the story. This house was big on Apporting toys, coming in and out on the stairs. Like, you don't have any kids, and all of a sudden there's a truck on your stairs. That'll freak you out. You know what I mean? So he's going through, and there's all these things, crosses popping up in the laundry, in the dryer, and the clothes wash machine and stuff, just crazy stuff. But this damn drawer. So he goes in. This is Keith is telling the story, and he's telling Steve and I, and he says, and this was kind of nuts, and he's just like throwing it off like it was a Tuesday, And he says, I go into the kitchen, I open the drawer, like when you're cooking, you open the drawer with the utensils with the big spoons in it, I believe he said. So that the big utensil drawer, I know exactly what he means. Everybody's got one. So he opens up that and he gets out a spoon, whatever it does, and he closes it and he goes back, stirs up his whatever he was making, whatever the hell. And then he goes back to again and opens it, and it's full of letters. And the damn thing is so full of letters that it's so overstuffed. And when he opens it, the letters just pop out all over the kitchen. Am I telling it right, Steve? And out comes the letter.
That's the way I remember it.
And all the damn letters have the same freaking address on it of the house, but all different names from occupants from all different, from the time the house was there, going all the way back. If that doesn't blow your mind, I don't know what does. So these people have been having their mail taken, their credit card bills, and he's saying it, stuff like this, your electric bill. Can you imagine? Well, I never got my bill, know? So it also made Steve and I start wondering, maybe it's the same thing with like the missing sock in the dryer and other things, you know.
Somewhere there's a pile of socks waiting to show up when you least expect it.
Exactly. So I mean, that's got to be, to me, that was just the be all end all of Apporting for me. I mean, there's a lot of great stories. The lit cigarette coming down from the ceiling, floating around the kitchen, everybody just watching it, waiting to see what it was going to do, and you know, all these. I think that it just absolutely amazes me. You know, I have no explanation for it. To take it from the physical, make it unphysical, to go through a physical thing like a ceiling, a wall, a window, you know, it rocks through a glass window and it doesn't break, but the rock comes through, and everything is always hot. It's hotter, isn't it, Steve? Didn't we find that out? You know, at a different time we were looking at
it has a warm to the touch.
Absolutely. And I mean, there was another story we told too about floating apples coming through. A bunch of old couples on some kind of vacation in this, I don't know, ranch house or whatever, and the chifforobe, I believe they said, was shaking like crazy, the doors banging like nuts, and they all came over and decided to stay together. Now, for the life of me, I can't figure out why that one couple just didn't leave and go off to one of the other couple's house instead, but they all decided to hunker down there and see what was going on. They wound up taking the chifforobe apart. It still jumped around on the floor. And then all of a sudden it started lobbing apples at them. Apples started coming out of the ceiling, out of the walls, and just swishing by their heads and near misses and everything. And they finally caught a couple, and they were hot apples. So explain this to me. You know, I'm sure there's something in science or physics or quantum, whatever, but it just vexes my mind. All right, I think this last card, Steve, can you see it? If not, I can grab it.
Yeah, I got it. In classic poltergeist cases, apporting is one of many physical disturbances alongside knocking, levitation, or object throwing. For example, in the Enfield poltergeist case, small objects like marbles and toys reportedly appeared or moved inexplicably. In the 1960s Seaford poltergeist case from Long Island, New York, household items like bottles and figurines were found displaced or broken, with some described as apported to new locations. Apporting is often cited as evidence of a poltergeist's ability to interact with the physical world, distinguishing it from purely visual or auditory hauntings.
Now, see, I like that part. I like that last part, because that gave me a little something there. Okay, so they're saying that this is a little bit more focused for me. So if it's a poltergeist, it has this ability. So not all ghosts have this ability. And explain to me then why in the cases that I've mentioned before, such as the house with the address with the talking cat said go to hell to the cop. Then you've got like the
that's just a cat, though. If cats could talk, they'd all say that.
They'd all say that. That you know, you're not wrong, Steve. You're not wrong. But again, to clearly come out and say, often when there's a cat involved in a poltergeist case, it's pretty creepy if they're going to talk to you, and they usually say mean things. So again, you could be right, Steve. It could just be the cat.
This could be the cat's pissed off.
It's just, you know,
It had enough. It's like,
get
okay.
the hell to work, get the hell to work and bring home more catnip kind of thing. So anyhow, this is the one thing that gives me a little bit of focus on what they consider a poltergeist to be. If we could just stop changing the meaning of the word and go back maybe to the original origin of it and use it as it was meant to be, as far as it's a noisy ghost. But I don't think saying it's a poltergeist in that case makes a ghost any different than being a ghost. And then you kind of have to just follow whatever that ghost characteristics are to further try to categorize it, because we can't categorize it and we can't communicate with it. You know, sometimes you have a little of both, and then you can best help the ghost. Because, like, for instance, last night you guys were kind enough to give me the night off, and I decided to show Ghosts of Gettysburg, not only because I love Mark Nesbitt and he's a dear friend of mine, and I think he is an absolute paranormal treasure, but you know, for Memorial Day, I figured we'd do Civil War Gettysburg ghosts. So again, Andrew was mentioning the elevator story is in there. You can go back and watch it. It's on my Rumble, and you can watch it in its entirety. And the thing about that too is they were talking about shit, I forgot my whole train of thought. So anyway, it's good. Just go watch it for Ghosts of Gettysburg last night. But again, the poltergeist thing has always messed with me, because if we're going to keep changing categories, it's harder for people that are investigating. Oh, I know what I was going to talk about. The blue boy in the college I forget the campus. I think it's Stevenson's Hall or something. But anyway, this young kid, he's hiding from somebody mean. I can't remember who, a teacher. It's way back in the day. These young girls hide him for whatever freaking reason. I don't know what they were smoking, but they decide to hide this kid outside on the ledge during a blizzard, like 3 floors up. So he's stuck on this ledge, locked the window. He's out there, froze to death. Because they were taken out of the room and put in punishment by whatever the heck happened. He died and the body disappeared. It's terrible. So this little boy ghost haunts this place. And I said last night, how could anybody watch a story like that and go up there and have the background, have the history, see the ghost, knows what it does? It's an angry little boy, and who wouldn't be? He shows up blue, like frozen blue, which is even creepier. And nobody's helped this kid in all these years. I mean, that boggles my mind. How can you go up there and not communicate with this kid and move him on? I just don't understand it. So again, it's like a therapy, and you have to have all this information, and every bit of this information, as wackadoodle as it sounds, coming from me, I get it. And, this is where I'm at. So this is the information. This is me. To have that not have all that information on this case and not be able to sit up there and communicate with this young entity and cross him over blows my mind. If he knows it and he has decided to stay in spite of the knowledge that he can cross over, that's a totally different story. If you have this information, please write it into the show and give it to me, because I want to hear from the ghost. But other than that, it just blows my mind that people wouldn't want this information so they can help the ghost more and help understand ghosts. You know what I mean? And again, you don't have to believe what I'm telling you. You can absolutely research for yourself and add to that. And if I'm wrong, come and tell me. But this poltergeist thing seems to be one of the biggest red herrings in the paranormal, because it's so misunderstood. I think the word is misunderstood. I've done 4 shows on it, and I still don't know what the hell it is. You get my drift? All right. So I got more. Steve, do you want to go? You want to hang for this? Or
I think I'm going to bounce
sleepy,
on out of here. I'm about to pass out here from
well, you pretty much,
time.
yeah. You gave, on both things, you gave lots of wisdom on it, and I appreciate you being here for it. Thank you so much. My love to Holden and Nick. Happy,
indeed.
Happy day and blessed memorial to you both. And thank you so much.
I'll see y'all next time. Love, peace, and chicken grease,
and
everybody.
You tell Holden I said he's the cutest little butt I ever saw wearing a flag.
I will.
And pinch a little cheek for me. Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Love
Bye-bye.
you, baby. Good night. All right, guys. So it's just you and me. So do you want to know what the secret is? Okay. I decided I needed a laugh tonight. So if they allow us and we get all the way through, when this show is over, I'm going to show you the rest of this thing, and we might cut out like 15 minutes or so early. So again, if you want to get over, go to Rumble. I believe there's apps for both iPhone and Android. You can download it on your phone. You can curl up in the bed, make a bowl of popcorn, and come watch a movie with us for free. Join us in the chat. It's, again, doesn't cost a dime. You just need another app. And if you have any problems, now would be a good time to download it and ask people that are already on Rumble. I've got a couple of my mods here. Ted's here, Scott's here, Kat's here, Henry's here. They can tell you how they got in. Vixen, she had some back and forth problems with something with an email. If you're having any problems like that with Rumble, usually you have to close out the account you already have and then open a new one. It's a little bit faster than trying to jerk around with it. There's still knocking out a lot of kinks over there, but man, they're getting good. They're getting better. So get over there to the Rumble, because we're going to watch a little movie after this. I needed a little laugh. And the movie that we're going to watch, do you want to know? You know what? I'm going to make you wait. We're going to watch this little bit of the ghost video, and then I'll tell you after this. It's a good one. It's going to make you laugh. And I hope you'll join me. But it's only on Rumble. So there you go. You decide. And there's the links. Thank you. One of my dear mods, Miss Kat. Thank you so much. And I hope you'll join us, because we have a lot of good times in the chat over there. We really do. This isn't a learning. I'll tell you what. I'll give you a hint. It's not a learning. Normally we'll do a movie like with cryptids or werewolves or vampires, ghosts, lots and lots of ghosts. and a couple, like that, but and try to learn from it. I think we've watched The Haunting and Signs and The Fog, and in the future, I found The Thing, which is great. John Carpenter. Scared the hell out of me first time I saw it. It's amazingly done. I don't know. Has everybody here seen The Thing? We might see that in the future. I'm trying to find Near Dark with Bill Paxton. It's a great vampire movie. I want to pull up American Werewolf in London, The Howling, maybe Underworld. That was always a good one. A lot of deep thinking, in-depth stuff there. Let me see what else. Anyway, I've got a lot in my head. I have to be able to find a clear copy of it. I don't want to keep bothering people to send me copies if I can avoid it. So I try to find some that are clear and go all the way through and no commercials. So there you go. And it was fun last night, Ghost of Gettysburg. So if you missed that and you want some more great ghost stories, you cannot beat Mark Nesbitt. And he's a dear friend of mine, him and his wife, Carol, from Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. They live right there. He started one of the first ghost tours, candlelight ghost tours, and he's written probably a good, well over 20 books now. I don't think that's an exaggeration. I might be undercutting it a little bit, come to think of it. But he's still going, and he's fantastic, and he's wonderful to talk to. I have multiple episodes with Mark Nesbitt on my channel, so go look for him there. They're fantastic. If you want good ghost stories, go to Mark. He's like the best. All right, so here's the rest of this, and when this is over, I will show you the trailer of the movie we're going to watch right after this show tonight. Okay, here we go. Little more.
Love, murder, and betrayal. Major themes in country music are also the key ingredients to an ongoing series of Poltergeist reports at Bobby Mackey's Music World, a popular honky-tonk in Wilder, Kentucky, across the river from Cincinnati, Ohio. Country singer Bobby Mackey opened the club in 1978. His wife, Janet, pregnant at the time, was apprehensive about the move. When she first saw the building, she sensed a malevolent force.
I was hesitant about even wanting a nightclub to begin with. But when I saw that door open by itself, that freaked me out. But when we got inside, the lights kept coming on and off by themselves, and I could hear people talking.
Shortly after the Mackeys began renovation of the club, Janet claims she was physically attacked by a ladder.
And here comes this ladder. It was like somebody walking right toward me. And then when it got almost right directly toward me, in front of me, it started falling toward me. And then when it did, Carl grabbed me and jerked me out from under it, and it fell.
And if I hadn't stopped and done what I'd done, got her out of the way, that ladder had marched up and actually tipped over by itself. I could not find an explanation for that. I know there was something evil here.
In the 1930s, a woman named Johanna committed suicide here after the murder of her lover, a singer named Robert Randall. Local folklore held that she haunted the building, searching for her slain lover. Intrigued by all the reports of this evil presence, author Doug Hensley began researching the Mackey story and discovered information about club owner Bobby Mackey, linking him to the ghost of Johanna.
When Bobby Mackey was born, his mother named him Randy Mackey, not Bobby Mackey, Randy Mackey. His baby book today still says Randy's baby book on it. She suddenly changed his name to Robert Randall Mackey.
Janet Mackey was terrified that Johanna's ghost thought her husband was Robert Randall reincarnated, and that Johanna could be jealous enough to do harm to Janet. While cleaning the upstairs apartment, Janet heard voices telling her to get out of the building, then felt invisible hands push her to the top of the stairs.
So I struggled and pulled, and I got loose from it, got to the top of the steps, and I was at the top of the steps. I was pushed down them, and I grabbed the rail as much as I could going down, because I was, like I said, I was pregnant. Protect myself, and I fell flat down on the bottom, looked up, and I saw some kind of an image. I couldn't tell if it was really a person or what it was. I couldn't tell.
Carl Lawson used to reside in the upstairs apartment where Janet was allegedly attacked, and he has his own recollections of mysterious happenings during the time he lived there.
We used to have a jukebox. We'd unplug it. And I can remember on occasion being upstairs, almost sound asleep, and this real old song, Anniversary Waltz, would come on. And there's nobody in here. And I come downstairs to check everything out. The jukebox was unplugged, but I know what I heard upstairs. Anniversary Waltz. It was always that same song.
Despite the disturbing ordeals reported by Janet and Carl, Bobby Mackey insisted that there were no such things as ghosts.
I had every dime I had stuck into this place, and I had to make it work, and I didn't want any silly ghost stories going around, keeping people away from here. I wanted positive things, not negative things, and I was, country music is my life, and I don't want to hear about no ghosts, just be quiet.
Janet Mackey remained steadfast in her belief that something dangerous lurked in the shadows of Bobby Mackey's music world.
When I was by myself, that's when I was really, really scared. But now I can feel it in the air. I can feel her tension around me. I can feel her, her vibes and stuff like that. I can tell she's around somewhere, and she doesn't want me around.
Inspired by Janet's obsession with the ghost, every night, Bobby performs his biggest country hit, Johanna.
Johanna, Johanna, are you really here? Looking for a lover after all these years.
Johanna is not the only ghost said to be haunting the club. One of northern Kentucky's most notorious murders took place near the site. In 1896, two men, Alonzo Walling and Scott Jackson, killed Scott's pregnant girlfriend, Pearl Bryan. They allegedly buried Pearl's head in the basement well, perhaps hoping it would be washed out through the drain and into the nearby Licking River. Legend held that the ghosts of Alonzo, Scott, and Pearl could be heard walking and arguing throughout the club. Bobby Mackey's chief of security thinks he once heard one of their arguments while investigating a possible burglary with a fellow officer. Sensing voices coming from behind the stage, he moved in to see who was there.
So the officer on the left got up on stage, went through the door. I came to the right, went through the other door. We checked. There's no one behind that stage.
Ever vigilant for reports of the ghosts, Larry was on duty at Mackey's one night when local resident Rich Lawson came to dance. The night Rich unexpectedly became part of the legend.
So I was tightening my collar clips up to make sure they would not come off on the dance floor, and I was just humming and singing. I was just real hyper and real primed and ready to dance. And a garbage can right beside the wash basin was sitting there, and it took violently off and slammed right up against the partition wall of the commode. And I turned around real violently, wondering who's gaming with me or what's going to happen.
What Rich saw shocked him. There before him stood the image of a man dressed in clothes from the turn of the century, complete with handlebar mustache.
He never hit me, never punched me or nothing. But the bathroom was so hot, I was just trying to gasp for breath, and I was trying to get out of this bathroom, and I made it to the hallway in the bathroom. And I just got so weak, and I went completely unconscious.
Larry Hornsby heard the commotion and found Rich's near lifeless form on the floor. When Rich awoke, he was terrified.
He said he seen a figure of a man wearing a big trench coat, like back in the old days, a mustache.
When shown photos of Alonzo Walling, Rich recognized him as the man he had just seen. Even more frightening, he recognized the face of someone else in a photo of Alonzo and Scott's hanging.
On the gallows in 1897, there's a judge and a preacher. I take my hat off, I resemble that preacher standing on the gallows holding the Bible.
Though Rich continued to be haunted by his experience, and he is aware of some kind of danger at Bobby Mackey's, he refuses to back down.
I got this feeling that the evil here wants me away. I'm intruding on them or something like that, and they're trying to push me away. I'm not going to leave because I love country music and Bobby Mackey's a great country music singer and I'm a danceaholic. I love to dance.
While Rich thought he was a target of malicious intent, Larry Hornsby felt it was his destiny to help save Rich and the others at Bobby Mackey's from Alonzo's angry ghost.
So what my theory is, he wants me out of here. He'll do anything possible to get me out of here. But, like I said, he was evil, I'm good. And we're battling each other.
Janet Mackey, however, was certain that strange occurrences at Bobby Mackey's music world targeted her and her alone.
I think it's a personal thing. I really do. Nothing's ever happened to Bobby. Nothing's ever happened to my children. It's just me. As far as family, you know. Other people, yeah. But I'm talking family. Nothing's happened to my girls. Nothing's happened to him. It's just happened to me. So therefore, I feel that they're just after me.
The regulars at Bobby Mackey's all felt that they were part of a struggle between good and evil, and they turned to a psychic to confront the evil poltergeists. When confronted by poltergeist activity, most people feel helpless and misunderstood. For people at Bobby Mackey's music world in Wilder, Kentucky, the battle had become intensely personal, and they turned to a psychic for help.
I was born with psychic abilities and with the gift of healing. I have clairvoyance, which means that I can see visions or images, and I can hear spirit talking to me, which is clairaudience.
Bodine claims to have established contact with 4 major ghosts: the 2 pregnant women, Johanna and Pearl Bryant, and Pearl's killers, Alonzo Walling and Scott Jackson. Echo's first visit was particularly unnerving for Janet Mackey.
We were sitting in the casino room, which is now the bull room, and she looked at me and she goes, I see Johanna behind you. And I thought I would die. I said, now you gotta be kidding me, right? No, she's standing right behind you.
3 years after that terrifying first visit, Echo is still able to converse with the ghosts at Bobby Mackey's.
We're gonna go talk to Scott and Pearl, see if they'll go too. And even if they don't, I think you should just let Alonzo take you by the hand and take you over to the other side with him, okay? Standing right over there. Pearl, listen to me. Listen to me. Nope, she won't. Scott, can you listen? You guys do not have to stay here. No, you do not have to stay here.
After these conversations, Echo is drawn to the basement well, which according to local legend is a portal to hell.
You want to say there was weird things that happened in here to people, women. Not very good things. A lot of real crazy thinking. A lot of crazy behavior went on in here.
I believe that's like a vortex. I believe whatever evil comes through here, it comes right out of there right from hell. I believe that's an entry point. I believe if that well was dug up, we'll find a lot more, evidence of a poltergeist type of activity.
In an effort to relieve the worried minds of the Mackey owners and patrons, Echo tried to convince the ghost to leave. The psychic claimed that 2, Johanna and Alonzo, said they were willing. Echo performed what she calls a cleansing, claiming to exorcise the building of Johanna and Alonzo.
I'll tell you what they are saying. Okay, Alonzo, yes. You still want to go to the other side? Yes. Okay, so you're really clear that you want out of here? Yes.
Even though at least 2 ghosts remain behind, reports of poltergeist activity have diminished at Bobby Mackey's since Alonzo and Johanna departed. but their legacy still haunts the place, if only in the plaintive chorus of Bobby's song.
Are you really here? As your love will return after all these years. As your love will return after all these years.
What do the people who report poltergeists at Bobby Mackey's have in common?
It sounds as if there were 3 different personalities reacting to the same stimuli. But they each had a different agenda, but they were all in a mental state to attract poltergeist activity. Most people do not realize how powerful their emotions are, and our emotions create energy fields around us all the time. I think that what is called poltergeist activity is most of the time spirits interacting with people on the earth.
Psychologists note that people's emotions and perspectives can produce delusions, not demons.
You have to look at the background of the people having these experiences. A security guard that has that responsibility is going to feel a personal obligation to rid a ghost or a poltergeist from the premises. It's his job. He's a security officer. It's not just the ghost is after anyone, but I have a link. I have a special relationship with this ghost. And that just makes you look for more evidence of the same. It's almost acting like a delusion.
Throughout this case, you have this notion that everyone is involved in this in an important way. So, in a sense, it's a story about people asserting their self-importance.
Keep seeing them.
Even Echo Bodine acknowledges that poltergeist activity can be psychologically motivated.
People need some attention. Yeah. Oh, yes. You can go into a home and people will say, oh, the ghost is doing this to me and this to me and this to me. And you walk around the house and there's absolutely no ghost there at all. But it's maybe her only way to get her husband's attention, or the child's only way to get attention from their parents. So what we do is we just say there is no ghost here.
Another explanation for the supposed poltergeist activity could be the building itself.
This building, though, is set up very nicely to hear sounds from a long distance away. The very large open pit in the basement opens into a drain under the railroad and over to the river. This drain provides a very nice path for sounds to come in. And it would be very possible for someone to be talking a long way away, maybe even miles away on a quiet day, have the sound reflect off something on the other side of the valley and be picked up like a microphone by this pipe and funneled into the building.
When a building such as the Mackey Club is constructed piecemeal over the years, its internal systems may be adversely affected.
You could have lots of problems with the wiring that when you plug in something new, it spikes the whole system and you have a drop in the lighting, or the lighting will flicker.
As for Bobby Mackey, all that matters to him is his music and the home he has created for it. To Bobby, stories of poltergeists at his club are just that, stories.
I just can't believe that happens. I just really don't believe that happens. I don't know if anybody can have that big of imagination or not, but there's got to be an explanation for it, other than the supernatural.
Bobby Mackey may discount the supernatural outright, but others find themselves obsessed with finding out the true origin of these strange phenomena. The common links among reports of poltergeist activity are physical experiences involving motion or kinetic energy. This makes them potentially quantifiable, which intrigues scientists like Barry Colvin. While working as a chemist for Shell Oil, Dr. Colvin's curiosity was piqued by reports of a local poltergeist. He discovered something that conventional science could not explain.
Some years ago, a case was reported near Leeds, which is in Yorkshire in the UK, and it sounded quite remarkable on the face of it. And this revolved around a hotel in which there were the parents and a son, And this son was the centre, it seemed, of some poltergeist activity.
Upon arrival at the hotel, Colvin and other witnesses, including colleagues from Shell, were startled to see eggs floating through the hotel lobby.
The egg actually travelled rather slowly. It was almost as though it was being held up. It was travelling, being held up by some unseen hand, if you like, travelling in a perfectly straight line, very slowly, and then smashing against the wall. So it was quite different to the form that it would take if it was simply thrown from one side to the other.
Colvin began exploring other reported poltergeist incidents. In a Yorkshire home, Colvin encountered strange rapping noises, which appeared to be efforts to communicate by a spirit called Eric.
And it tapped out the messages by tapping the relevant number of letters through the alphabet. So, for example, if it wanted to tap the letter M, it would be 13 taps, and so on. Well, essentially what it tapped out was its name, first of all, which in itself is interesting, because that then brings up the whole hypothesis of a spirit involved in these tapping sounds. It also tapped out the message that it was killed on this spot and that its body was still buried beneath the house.
Though denied a permit to dig for the body, Dr. Colvin was nevertheless convinced there was a poltergeist, because Eric's rappings were strongly linked to the presence of one specific living person.
We never, I think it's fair to say, we never had any activity at all from Eric when the girl was not present. Either Eric was a person and he is using the focus of this young girl to make himself known, is one interpretation. The other interpretation would be that since the force is objective, and one cannot argue with that, that here we have a force which may be generated in the mind of possibly the girl, the mother, the two of them together, and simply they are generating a story of Eric for some unknown psychological reason.
Colvin has just begun to scratch the surface, but to him, science must clearly broaden its boundaries to describe physical forces that are now beyond its understanding. Psychologists Alan Gould and Tony Cornell agree that the witnesses, or as they call them, agents, have a strong role in the type of interaction with the poltergeists.
There have been one or two poltergeists in which there have been communicative rappings, and the raps have spelled out all sorts of messages as from mysterious entities. And they've actually made the same spelling mistakes that the person around whom the thing's centre makes. So clearly the intelligence was the intelligence of the poltergeist agent.
The complexity of the Eric case drew Dr. Colvin away from his work as a chemist at Shell to his new line of work, poltergeist research.
There's an awful lot that can be done in terms of instrumentation. I am myself getting very involved in modern, very up-to-date equipment, which I believe may well lead us down the path to scientifically explaining what is going on. And I know that others working in other parts of the world are looking down this road of sophisticated instrumentation to determine something about the poltergeist force.
Dr. Colvin founded the Poltergeist Research Institute, a group of international scientists whom he hand-picked to investigate poltergeist activity.
Never mind, I can come over straight away. All right, I'm on my way. Thanks. But being realistic, things generally occur one day and they could be gone in a week's time. And what we do generally these days is that in such a case, I have an aircraft and we simply, if we think it's worthwhile, we either get a local person to investigate and report back to us as soon as possible, or if it looks promising enough, we simply step into the plane and we go. And within generally an hour or 2 hours, we're there on the spot.
Using a combination of scientific instrumentation, research, and a fine-tuned instinct, Dr. Colvin and the members of the Poltergeist Research Institute hope that one day poltergeist forces will be as familiar to scientists as the wind, physics, even electricity. As some scientists keep looking for explanations for poltergeist activity, there remains a chasm between those who will only believe in empirical evidence and those like Raphael Bibbo, who believe there is more to our world than science can tell us.
Spirits exist as well as we exist. It's interdimensional. They're here with us. And the only way you're going to deal with it is just like if I'm talking to you, you talk to them. And yeah, you're going to have pranksters. You're going to have people that can harm you. They can harm from that side as well as you can harm me. So it's just like a human being, except they don't have a physical body.
And how can you account for fax machines or radio or television? You can have 4 or 5 televisions or radios in the same room, and everything is coming in on a different channel, and they're all pure, okay? How can you explain that and think that the mind is any less capable of these miracles?
Others acknowledge that while we may never know the source of poltergeist energy, we should at least acknowledge its presence and try to understand its power.
She makes a good
For years
point.
and years and years, investigators have heard these things happen. They know that certain people have to be present for these things to happen. They happen around a particular person or a group of people. But I think we've got to concentrate on the person around which these things happen if we're going to get the answer. If we're going to get
He's
the answer.
also got a good point.
So far, we've got nothing.
In the end, the way we perceive poltergeists will ultimately be determined by how we use our own minds to perceive ourselves and our environment.
The most powerful tool in misdirection is the spectator's mind, because if the correct suggestions are given, their mind will take those suggestions and believe anything that is related to them.
Paranormal experiences, including poltergeists, are a normal part of the human condition. They reflect who we are, they reflect our wishes. Sometimes those wishes aren't always positive. They don't reflect our beliefs, which aren't always positive. They reflect our relationships with other people. When we are all said and done, poltergeists are genuine experiences, but they're a psychological phenomena rather than a parapsychological one.
Is it possible that we do not yet understand the capabilities of our own untapped energies? As psychics and scientists alike grapple with the mystery of poltergeists, the real answers may lie hidden in the recesses of the minds of those who have met them, and there they will remain, unexplained.
Boo. That thing made a lot of sense. I mean, taking everything into consideration, you know, each person said their own point of view, their viewpoint, we get a little bit closer to trying to understand what the hell is a poltergeist and what do you mean when you say poltergeist. And I think that's the thing. Again, you know, I can never quite put it into the words exactly how I mean it in my mind and in my heart, and then taking abilities and throwing it all in. It really is, like I said, comparing things to the JFK case. You know, there's a little bit of truth, a lot of lies, you know, some straight up made up bullshit, some misdirection, some sleight of hand, you know, you name it, it's all in there. And that's what's in the paranormal. And then you've got people, you know, that are in there just trying to sort it. Just, you know, I have a case. What is it? And trying to find a way to approach that. You know, do we talk to the people who are the experiencers, the people that are living there or staying there, working there, whatever the case may be. And you try to go through all that, you know, all the common sense questions, you know, is there any arguing in the house? Is there a divorce? What's the home life like? Is there anybody on pharmaceuticals? What's their everybody in the family? What's their, where are they at in their head? What's going on with them? Because it's right down to every living individual that has any contact with that property, right? Any living individual that had contact with that property, it might be the people that lived there before stirred it all up, and then you came in and you're getting the residual of whatever that issue was. Just all the different levels you can look at this, and you have to sort that. And people get upset when they have an active haunting or an active situation, and paranormal investigators trying to do the best job they possibly can, doing it the right way, the way that they've deemed important for their group, and they come at the situation with these questions, and people get offended right away. Well, why are you blaming us? No, we're not blaming you. We need to understand the energy in this household, in this building, in this place. Because if we don't understand the living energy, we can't begin to understand how the dead energy or the undead energy is reacting to it. We saw multiple stories tonight. We talked about some stories, the Enfield Poltergeist, the Bell Witch, all these different, and they all seem like such different stories, don't they? They all stand on their own as individual stories. There's some similarities. You might have had some apporting in there. You might have had, a talking cat. You might have had refrigerators moving, kids flying around the room, whatever it may be. There you can find similarities, but quite honestly, they're all independent cases. And if you're going to call them all poltergeist cases, where do you get that mixture of events and reactions to those events? Do you land on poltergeist? Because again, if we're just going to throw things in to stir up and make the paranormal harder to understand and more confusing, we're going to get, a smaller amount of good results. To me, I know that's going to be different from everybody's perspective on that is going to be, what's a good result? Oh, did you get information? Did you get evidence? Did you get a picture? Did you get an EVP? Did you get a combo of those things? Did you get a full apparition on video? Of course, those are all successes. But what I mean by a success is, I think, a little broader. And I don't mean to diminish anybody. I'm not doing it for that. What I mean is just explaining what's in my head to say a success would be, we have a situation. Let's take Toys R Us. Let's take Yanni. Okay, that's a good one, right? Here's Yanni. If you're not familiar with the story, I'll tell you quick. And this was Sylvia Brown was the medium in this, but she wasn't the only one. I forget where it was. California, I think it was California. Okay. So there you go. You've got Yanni. Yanni was a farmhand. I believe he was on spectrum, possibly had something going on. He had maybe a social thing where he couldn't talk really well to people. Whoever you talk to describe him, he had some kind of a disability, that as far as maybe mild retardation, something along those lines. It's hard to determine because it was back in a different time and they called things different then. They really did. They probably said he was tetched in the head, his cheese slid off his cracker, one of those things. So anyway, this young man really just loved this, the young daughter of the owner of the farm in which he worked. This young lady didn't even know this kid was alive, barely. She saw him, like, go get my horse, hook it up to the carriage, I'm leaving, that kind of stuff. He loved her, and she would just throw off his advances and that kind of thing. He finds out that she's going to get married. He doesn't understand why he's working his butt off every day to create whatever he's creating to get her to marry him in his mind. He gets so upset. She leaves. She goes off to get married. Whatever she's doing, she's gone. He's mad and he's upset and he's chopping wood. Y'all know this story? So he's mad. He's chopping wood and he's so angry and he's just frustrated and pissed off and just distraught. And he slips and he cuts his leg. and there's nobody to go to for help. He doesn't know what to do. He goes back to whatever little shack in the back he sleeps in, lays down in the bed, and apparently he died of his wound. Now, that's a quick way of saying that this guy laid in bed for days while his leg got infected and he cried his heart out, and he died in this emotional cesspool of not understanding. He's confused. He's in pain. Now he's got a fever. He's got probably gangrene. How long does it take gangrene to settle in a leg? I guess it depends on how filthy the hatchet and the wood and everything was. I don't know. But days this man suffered. And he comes back. His ghost comes back, except now it's not a farm anymore. It's a Toys R Us. And he thinks that this girl is still there. This is who he's looking for. This is who he stayed for. It appears at some point, it looks like where he used to live to him. He is perceiving this as where he used to be. He doesn't understand who the hell all these people are in these striped smocks, and what the hell are all these bouncing things and these, you know, if he sees that in a flash, he's in a Toys R Us. I don't know that he saw it. I think that the toys and things that were reacting, moving around, I think they're reacting to his energy and his anger and his confusion. And you're also dealing with someone who was mentally handicapped in some way. So you have no idea the level of anxiety and frustration that's propelling this energy to get the electric train to go off and things like that. Now, it seems at one point, if I remember correctly, the girl he was in love with, her name was Elizabeth, I think, if I recall. And at one point, letters, like toy letters in the, you know, the preschool aisle or whatever, spelled on the floor in the aisle, Elizabeth. Now, I've never gotten that confirmed that actually happened, or was that just something that the producers added in the episodes that we saw? Because if it did something like that, I would say you've got an intelligent haunting for sure, but you also have one that can perceive the physical, visual and the physical of the now. And in some point in time, he's seeing it in the then, in his then. That makes sense. So many things going on there. Would he be a poltergeist? You see what I mean? You know, you have to, if somebody perceives a poltergeist as only being a group of energy that never lived before, and you just go around labeling things poltergeist willy-nilly, then you're never going to find out that Yanni just needs a little coaxing and a little understanding. And if he wants to go see Elizabeth, that quite possibly she's on the other side, and maybe we can call Elizabeth in. Maybe we can get her to come and explain this. I mean, it's her mess. Let her help clean it up. You know, she was rude to this guy. And again, let this be a cautionary tale. I tell this all the time behind keyboards and things like that. Be careful how you react to things. Always ask the person, what do you mean? Don't just react, because we did a whole thing on that, right? So again, this is the same thing. You don't know who you're dealing with. And she didn't obviously know who she was dealing with. If you sat this girl down and you explained to her, look, you're hurting this guy. This guy, in his mind, you're the be all and end all of everything. And if you just walk away, there's no telling what this guy's going to do. You know, if she knew then, would she have acted the same way? I don't know. Look at her culture. Look at how she was brought up. We'll never know. But if we look at that and take Yanni as a cautionary tale, you never know what that cashier is going through. You never know what the person driving is going through. There might be somebody in that car needs to get to the hospital, and you don't know why they're driving at it. You know, crazy. So there you go. Anyhow, so I promised I would tell afterwards. Thank you for all the guessing. That was fun. And I know it's late, but I'm going to watch something. So I thought if I could, I'm going to go jump over and I'm going to put a movie on over on the Rumble. And I'm going to take this night out with laughter. So if you would like to join me, especially if you have someone in memoriam today, I have several. I don't even want to, but Souls in Uniform. It's a special person that puts on that uniform for the reason of defending their own land and their own country. And God bless America for being the kind of country you'd want to put your life on the line to protect. And I know several, more than I'd like to count, believe me, of people who did just that and took that oath and meant it. And it was a hard weekend, and there wasn't fireworks and barbecue grills and stuff here. There was me going out and, like I said, putting out as many flags as I possibly could. And every time I put one up, you know, I thought about all the people who gave their life to keep that flag flying. So please think about that wherever you live. Keep it precious. You know, a lot of us are a lot better off than others. And maybe we can use a little of our light and our life to try to pick somebody, try to make it better. Okay? I love y'all. And here's a little, so I thought we'd have some laughter tonight. So if you want to join me over on Rumble, we are going to watch it in its entirety. And what we are watching tonight, my friends, it's a silly little ditty, but I'll tell you what, if you like dry humor and you like a spoof on the world of rock and roll and rock bands that have maybe seen their prime and are a little bit too full of themselves, I hope you enjoyed this. This is Spinal Tap.
It's a bit of a departure from the kind of thing you normally play. What do you call this?
Well, this piece is called Lick My Love Pump.
This is the loudest, rock and roll, most explosive band in heavy metal history. This is Spinal Tap.
It's such a fine line between stupid and clever.
The funniest movie ever made about rock and roll.
He choked on vomit. Well, they can't prove whose vomit it was.
The monumental classic.
There was a Stone Age monument on the stage that was in danger of being crushed by a dwarf.
The makeup of your audience seems to be young boys.
Oh, it's a sexual thing, really.
We've got, armadillos in our trousers. I mean, it's really quite frightening.
No, don't. I was just pointing at it.
Well, don't point.
I'm sure I'd feel much worse if I weren't under such heavy sedation.
The cult phenomenon.
The numbers all go to 11.
Does that mean it's louder? Is it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
This is Spinal Tap.
Well, there you go. So if you want to join me for that, it will be right after the show. Give me about 15 minutes to get it loaded, and I have to set a Rumble Live, and then you'll see it come up on the Rumble Live. It won't be on this one, so it'll be on a whole new just Rumble. So I have to load it up different. It'll take me a few minutes, so I'd say about 15 minutes after the show, so that give you time to go get your PJs on, go pop some popcorn, get your bowl of ice cream, get your pistachios, whatever you're lunch on, your hot cuppa, go get it and come over there and visit us on Rumble. It doesn't cost a thing. We're going to watch this wonderful movie, and we're going to go out of this weekend with laughter and some love in the chat and supporting each other, because there's a lot of people going through a lot of hard memories, memories that you almost wish you didn't have them, but they're so sweet you wouldn't let go of them for anything. And that's what love is about, and that's what hey Chris, and that is what this day is about, to remember those that gave us this, so we could still laugh with our friends, and we still could come together and be light workers and regenerate each other and try to understand the paranormal, supernatural, and all the gifts that come with it. Because again, if we don't focus on those things, we tend to get pulled down into the darkness of the paranormal and supernatural. We've all been hit This has been a hard couple of years for a lot of light workers that I know. I myself had to go dark multiple times. I've got my entire family's pissed at me right now. Each one of them thinks that I'm not talking to just them because they don't talk to each other. So they all are mad at me. I can feel it. You feel these things. That's again why, we keep the chat light. We keep the chat loving and supportive and, everything else. This is why this is the one channel on YouTube, on Facebook, on anything else that does not run on amount of people that are here. We don't count, we've got 1,000 subs or whatever. I know I told you over the past couple of weeks, they've just been taking chunks out of a lot of creators that I know right now. I mean, I lost so many, I lost count, but they're doing that. It's like a purge. They'll take the mods off. I have to go and find the page and find the box and click the box and find the name, and it has to be exactly spelled right, with all the numbers and everything before they'll let it be a mod. It takes forever to take one off. So they must be going through just doing purges, and it's, you work hard to get this stuff. Look, it would bother me if that's why I did the show. That's not why I do the show. I do the show for this, so we can get together. Those of us having a bad week, a bad month, bad year, bad decade, whatever it may be, because I know light workers are. There's multiple attacks on multiple levels. There's global attacks. There's, attacks with natural disasters. We go through like we have the flu because we feel that. We feel that vibe, and it weighs us down, and we have to ground. We have to do things. So that's why I did yesterday all day long. I just brought life, patriotism, pride, remembrance. And I thought about this chat, and I was so glad that I could put up again a post. I wasn't sick. I had noodle arms, man. I couldn't even move. So I was and unfortunately, we had a guest. We actually had 2 guests scheduled last night, and one of them lost their father and asked me if it was okay if they didn't make the show, or if it was okay if they came in late. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Please take the time. We love you. It's okay. I'll come up with something. And you guys were understanding enough to come over and watch Ghost of Gettysburg, which is a treat because we've talked about many of those stories before, and it was really nice to see it in its entirety. So if you didn't get to see it, it's there. It's on the Rumble channel. Go watch it. Multiple other movies on there. Go watch them and learn as much as you can about the paranormal. Us old folks are, moving on our journeys, and we're not always going to be here to tell you the stuff that we already knew, in the early 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s. And they're trying to bring it around again and give it a new name and confuse you. So you'll buy the books and you'll watch the shows, and when the board creaks and it's a demon, and you'll be scared, and you'll hire the people, and you'll pay the price, and you'll do the things, you'll get caught up. It's the same old dance. Don't you let them. Don't you let them. You understand. The paranormal goes a lot deeper. These are people. There's people, and there's things out there that want to hurt the people or use the people, living and dead. And it's up to us to keep the lights on. So tonight, we're going to watch a little after the show, and I hope to see you there. And if you can, share it out. Invite other people if they're just there for movie night. That's fine. Totally fine. Because hopefully you'll be in the chat and you'll pick up some good vibes, because that's all I let go on here, I mean, I hate to take people out, but I do. I mean, if it's, you know what I mean? That's why I don't talk to people on the phone. Why I don't, if they're having a hard time. I wish I could be there to help everybody, but sometimes I get to the point where I'm just like, look, I gotta ground myself. I gotta fight off a lot of heavy stuff, and I don't have extra energy to give out, and it's okay to do that. This is a bigger fight than somebody's upset that you're not there to talk to them for a couple hours on the phone, or, whatever it may be. It's okay to say no. Because if you don't take care of you, you can't help other people. And there's lots of battles still coming, and you're going to need everything you've got. So come on over to Rumble with me after the show. Again, like I say, give me about 15 minutes and I'll get it running probably. Let's aim for, I hate to do this at 10:30. It's going to be late. And, if you fall asleep, I get it. You finish it tomorrow. It'll still be there. But I'm going to end this with some laughing tonight. And I hope you join me. So have a good night, everybody. Thank you for being here. We didn't solve the puzzle, the poltergeist puzzle, but I think we understand a little bit more to maybe back away from a situation and look at everything. You're never going to be able to explain what your neighbor does, or somebody you work with, or a family member, or somebody you live with, or somebody you just know in a chat. But people have good days and bad days. So sometimes you just got to let it ride, like the song said, ride, 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 won't you let it ride? Remember that one? Sometimes you just got to let it go. So, and take the air and expression of the three men we're going to watch tonight who live in their own world, and it obviously circles around the three of them. And I think you're going to like it. If you haven't seen it before, you're in for a treat. So I'll see you over on Rumble, everybody. Good night. Be good.